Welcome to our inaugural episode of Healing with Ketamine. I am your host, Dr. Cassius Drake, and we are excited to be here with you today to share with you our own personal journeys of healing, transformation. We have exciting topics about psychedelics, ketamine, mindfulness, meditation, creative work, spiritual transformation, and everything that it takes to become a whole and healthy and happy human being. With me today is my wife and partner, Jacqueline Drake, who has been integral member in getting our healing paradigm off the ground. She has a powerful story of healing and transformation to share with you, which we will get to in a second. And as we move along in this podcast moving forward, we're going to be bringing in other guests to discuss their journeys, and we look forward to this being a powerful source of information and growth for all of our listeners. So, Jacqueline, it's I can't believe we're here and we're doing this now. It's been such an amazing journey to get to this point, and we're here. So how did we get here, Jacqueline? Why don't you share with us? Why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. You're an artist, an award-winning artist. You owned a gallery, a healing arts gallery, award-winning gallery, a place where you did workshops and art therapy and creative work and poetry readings and all sorts of things to inspire people. So why don't you tell us more about who you are and how we ended up here?
Yeah, well, I'm excited for this podcast because being able to share not only our stories right now, but being able to share other people's stories of healing is, I truly believe that's incredibly powerful to see that there is hope and results actually on the other side of this. To start with me, I'm an artist, but also a healer. And when I say healer, it means I have a whole entire background of using meditation and mindfulness and using all of that for creativity and really using the creative process as healing. And our practice, I do a lot of that as well in our practice now. And it's been incredible to work with people, getting them to express themselves from a more authentic place. My own journey started many, many years ago, and my dream had always been to build a place that I could help people heal on a different level, using all sorts of creativity. And like Dr. Drake had said there, I used to have poetry nights and open mic music nights, all for the purpose of using creativity to help people heal. And it really becomes about the process of creativity. My own journey started actually after I closed the gallery. I found myself in a very difficult, hard spot. In the course of building my dream I gained a lot of weight. I lost a lot of people in my life, my dad, my aunt. All of that kind of caught up to me in those 5 years of building my dream. And I spent so much time with it and building up, obviously, my own art is its own entity, and then building a space for this, for other people to create. It took a lot out of me, and there was no room for self-care. And when I closed the gallery, it was a few months after that when I actually didn't recognize myself in a picture. And that's when I realized I needed some help. Yeah. And when in that photo, that's when I realized my mindset wasn't right. And as a life coach, I really approach everything in more of a balance, trying to find balance with people and a mind, body, and the creative spirit balance. And when I looked at that picture, there was nothing balanced in that picture. When I looked at the physical aspect, body was not well. Mind clearly was depressed. My body not been taking care of it. I had gained over 100 pounds building up my practice. And like I didn't take care of myself. And my creative spirit at the same time was not there either, clearly. And that's when I knew I had to take a deep dive. And of course, it was COVID, right? Starting right when I had closed the gallery. And there were some other things that had happened, the reasons not only of COVID why I closed the gallery, but there were some other personal things. And so I had to really take a hard look at all of it. And mindset really, for me, when I look at people's mindsets or when I look at my own, it's kind of the space that we're in all the time, right? Are we living in this more negative, nitty space, headspace, or are we really living more in a positive, moving forward type of attitude? And at that point, I was not. I clearly was not in that space.
So you recognized you had to make a change.
Yeah, and at the point, you and I had even started talking about ketamine at that point because we had obviously studied it and wanted to help people with it. We weren't doing it at that point during my journey, in the beginning at least. And at that point, the only tool I really had was what I had, which was meditation and mindfulness skills that even at my healing arts gallery, I would teach mindful eating classes and mindful journaling classes. And the reality was I wasn't doing any of that. I clearly was not mindfully eating. I clearly was not mindfully taking care of my body and mind at any point of that, even though I was teaching it. And that's, so looking at all these harder places of even looking at the things that I wasn't really walking the walk doing, that hit me a lot. And I realized I had to do something, not only from looking at that picture, but something severe and pretty intense had to happen. And the only device I had, obviously it was the middle of COVID and everybody was on lockdown at the time in Michigan. I had a virtual reality device, and using that for years, I was using immersive therapies, getting people to use it for meditation in the gallery, showing people different ways that, look, if you don't want to sit through a guided meditation or listen to one, there's other ways we can actually put you inside of one. And so that I knew having those tools, I could really do something with my own mind. And I did. And I used a lot of it for art, and a lot of my art now is still in VR and AR, augmented reality and virtual reality. And anyways, and using that for that, I thought, well, shoot. And so using it for meditation and art, I stumbled upon fitness in it. And VR fitness kind of literally fell into my lap. I was literally looking for something I could just move my body, maybe Tai Chi or something I could move, yoga even. Because I was starting to feel a little better in my mind space. And I thought, well, shoot, now I can start moving my body a little bit more and maybe I'll feel a little better. And started moving a little bit and then became a lot. And still to this day, I work out every day, either in virtual reality or in another form now. But yeah.
So as I hear you, you recognize that you saw yourself in a picture and you said, this has to change. I can't be this person anymore. And you made steps to take action, to practice what you preach, so to speak. You realized that you had gotten off track, and so you got back to your own practices of mindfulness and meditation, being creative again, and getting out there and being active and moving your body, and you've had a powerful transformation. So so as a result of that, you had a profound weight loss. Why don't you tell us?
Yes. It is pretty profound. The weight loss itself, the fitness level is actually, I think, for me, very profound. I was never really exactly fit, I would say, but now the athleticism that I have now is incredible. I've lost close to, I think it was 89 pounds, close to 90 total, and it was gradual. I did it a lot of high intensity workouts, but all in virtual reality. And knowing how the device really works and really what an immersive experience can do on the mind, I knew that working out in this is going to be a whole different game changer. And it was, and it still is for me every day. And a lot of people, I always help people now that want to try that. So I do have a lot of people with the fitness aspect now, which is that was not ever the plan, but now it is. It's been really interesting.
What would you think would be the most important thing for someone to consider if they wanted to pursue if they wanted to make a transformation? What is the first step they need to do?
Well, for me, it was really looking at mind, body, and spirit. And, It becomes almost like what I call it, a recipe at one time. But it's really, and as a life coach, it's kind of my prescription to people to really live this way. And if you do something for your mind every day, meditation, sitting in mindfulness, or even having a present moment awareness moment just by yourself, or doing something that puts you in that meditative flow state, right? I have a YouTube channel that I talk a lot about flow state and how immersive therapies can get you really in that space. And it's the same space, which is fascinating to me. It's the same space as when you would have a ketamine treatment. It's also the same space deep meditators go into, is this incredible flow state. So back to your question, how would I would absolutely have people look and really honestly look at themselves. When I actually quit drinking, as you know as well, using mindfulness. And in that aspect, it was really looking at what the reasons I was drinking for. I mean, if you really pay attention to why is it just in these social situations, and you really look at, well, maybe these social situations are not really authentic, I guess. And I think part of what that I really started noticing was like negativity and toxicity in my overall. And so I started looking at it that way with my body, with my mind, what was really toxic. And when I say toxic, it's not so much things that you ingest or even inhale. It can be things that are implemented nonstop. I mean, I think about our social media platforms, it's nonstop of stuff, right? And we're bombarded. And I started really looking at, every time I looked at some social media, I would get either angry or jealous or whatever these emotions were. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm putting myself in my position for this. I'm creating my own stress and drama and whatever that looks like in there. And I realized that there was a lot of looking at what we intake negatively from all sources, right, into the mindset, because that affects us. It affects us so much. And the body as well. So looking at really.
So you made a decision to be mindful of what you took in, what you thought, what
Absolutely.
you ate, how you felt. And that's created tremendous long-lasting change for you.
And it also has changed my art as well. I'm creating a lot differently now, but from, I've always tried to create from that deeper place. My work has always been like that. It's always been, I've always taken people into a deep meditation to create from that space. And my own art, though, has now changed a little bit too, being more authentic and more mindful, really, about it.
And you're also helping other people to pull that out of themselves now and to find that within themselves and connect in their own creative spirit and bring it out on canvas. And that's a really beautiful work when I've seen that happen.
It is incredible, to be honest. That is my favorite part of being able to get people to create for another purpose. It isn't just to make product lines or make a big installation somewhere or do a big commission for somebody, or even do pop-up shows, all that. It has never been about that. I have led art organizations. I have ran school things. It's all about the process of art. And getting people to create for that reason now, it's incredible.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
I'll share with you that, you, during the pandemic when we had to close things and all of that, and you began to do your own work of healing on yourself. And there was a moment where you said that I don't want to be this anymore, and you began to make change, and it was very visible, and you were doing the work, and it was beginning to show benefits, and then for myself, that was inspiring for me, and that led me to begin my own work of healing for myself, because for myself, I was an ER doctor for a couple of decades. I did that for 20 years. It was a very stressful work that had taken a toll on me and led to me actually leaving that work, and beginning to find my own way back to health and wholeness as well. And when you started to do your work and begin to change, I realized I needed to begin to do some work on myself too, to catch up. For myself, some of those struggles were with stress and anxiety, how to get back to work and how to do the job and manage stress. And for me, as we looked at different healing paradigms and what would work, I found myself looking for ketamine, and as a method of healing for me. To pull out of that place. And so as we did research about that, I began to consider if that was work that I wanted to do for myself, and had my own ketamine experience, which was profoundly transformative, that led us to go into this work that we do now together, of helping people to heal at depth using all of these various techniques. Just sharing some other, steps along the way with that journey for myself. I found my ketamine experience to be deeply profound, and it gave me some insights into who I was as a healer, and what I was trying to accomplish. And we set out to do this work using this powerful healing paradigm to change people. As it would happen, as we tell our patients, sometimes when you begin a journey of healing, that journey, we don't have any control over that journey. And sometimes we think, I'm going to start doing some work on myself, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to empower myself, and life is going to begin to look a certain way, or be a certain way, and everything's going to work out, and it's going to be great. And we were experiencing that in our work as we were working with people, and they were coming in, and we were seeing all these people having such profound transformations and change. And for myself, everyone has a family member, for example, who they feel like, I sure wish I could help that person. And through my work and healing, I had a family member who I really wanted to help. And I would often, advise her to, make changes or do certain things. And as you would have it, people don't always listen. And so I would even write things to her, mindfulness, spiritual things that I would write, that I would put out in public on Facebook that people found pretty inspiring, but she didn't know that I was actually writing it for her, and hoping that something would sink in there, and maybe a little bit did, maybe a little bit didn't. But as fate would have it, we started doing this work with ketamine, and seeing this change. And I had this hope that, this would be effective also for my family member, and that she would try it, and it would be effective for her. But 6 months after we opened that clinic, she took her own life. And that was devastating. And one of the hardest phone calls I'd ever received. And I had to face that in some really strong ways. And just like you had to face that moment where you realized you had to make a change, that you couldn't stay where you were. Even if you didn't know how to move forward from there, you knew that you couldn't stay where you were. And so you had to do something. And you found all the ways that worked for you. And for myself, when this happened, when we had that loss, that sudden tragic loss, I had to ask myself, well, how am I going to help myself with this? As they say, physician, heal thyself. How does that work in this situation? And I actually had to ask myself the question, am I going to continue to do this work? Can I continue to do this work? And I found, and this is what we find is the power of these treatments that we're using, of psychedelics, of ketamine, is that they give you an opportunity to experience a different way of feeling and a different emotional state that can give you a different perspective on things. And when I stopped and considered what had happened, I went back to my ketamine treatment and the experience that I'd had within that of knowing this was my work, of knowing this was the paradigm of healing and this was the way to go. And then when I faced that question of, do I continue doing this? The answer was yes. And then I had to ask myself, well, I'm going to continue to do this work. How am I going to be able to be with people and contain them and support them and give them empathy and support and when I'm hurting,
right.
When my heart's broken, how am I going to do that? And I had to use every tool I'd ever learned and ever been taught to continue to do the work that we were doing, and to sit down with patients and to be mindful of what I was doing, to be present with the patient, to be present with myself, to be present and learn how to contain myself from those insights that I had learned through this work and through those ketamine treatments. And it dawned on me that if I'm going to continue this work, I have patients who are struggling with similar issues. And to best help them, I'm going to have to figure out a way, a pathway to deal with things of this nature. And what came from that is this paradigm that we've created that we call the way of the butterfly. And it's a beautiful paradigm of transformative healing that's built on connecting with love and being contained in that love wherever you are, and allowing that to be the healing, to bring a feeling of self-compassion, for acceptance, for forgiveness of self, and all of these to come within this paradigm of this healing protocol. And it just begins with asking for help and finding a way to reconnect with love. Now, how do you do that?
Right.
How does a person do that? That's great. How do you person do that? Right. And so, we use a lot of different ways to do that. We use psychedelics. We use ketamine within a ketamine experience, a dissociative state. It's possible to have a true emotional experience of unconditional love or peace or mercy or forgiveness, to really feel it and taste it and know that that's real. And then we teach people in our work of how to stay there and how to make that to be a real part of their life. And so for myself, that paradigm applied when I looked at what had happened, and I had to ask myself and face how I felt about it, my own feelings of, did I do the right things? As a healer, did I do the right things for her? Did I fail? Did I fail her? Did I fail my family? Did I fail myself? And those are really challenging questions, and there's with no real answers, other than when I found myself able to return to that place of just being contained in that unconditional love and support, then I was able to feel mercy on myself for things that were out of control in a way that you can't tell somebody. It's not the words. You can tell people these things, but unless it has emotional reality and you actually can stand there, it doesn't have much power. And we found that this paradigm had that power to bring that mercy and compassion for self that allowed me to forgive myself for things that may or may not have been my fault, but to return to a place of peace with myself and of myself. It wasn't easy. It's taken some time. It's been a while. And it's been an upward climb, and I wouldn't say that it's over, but I'm certainly much further along than I was, and there's hope. And we've just seen the power of this paradigm and that image of the transformative journey of the butterfly from the caterpillar that enters the chrysalis and then emerges as a new and beautiful creature. And for us, that chrysalis is that container of unconditional love. You know, we spin that around ourselves and our patients through ketamine, through mindfulness, through meditation, through creative work.
Well, I always think too that you and I had worked in sterile medical situations, and this work is anything but sterile. It's pretty amazing to have that kind of connection. It's a different kind of medicine completely. It really is, the whole thing, the whole way.
So it's been a profound journey and a powerful one. And you know, we feel this paradigm, this way of healing, this way of seeing things, it has enormous potential to change people at depth, and to help them find themselves in a different place, in a long-lasting place. And I know that in your own journey, there were probably places where you had some self-judgment, and you probably found similar things in your journey. Yeah,
I mean, that's for my mental state, that was a big battle for me, was the negative self-talk and basically self-love. I mean, there was none. So learning self-compassion and self-love and really using it, meaning digging deep into that to find the strength to go on and to finding, you know, a different way of being. And I want to add to that when, and I tell this to our patients as well, but when Dr. Drake had ketamine and he went under the treatments for it, it was incredible to see as a spouse, because you see it in the little things. It's always in the little things. And, you know, after you've been with somebody we've been together 25 years, married for 23 now. And when you're with somebody for so long, that you begin to know their little habits, right? And little things that they do or say, or movements or whatever it may be. I noticed those were different. There was like a little bit, not as I call it sharp edges. You weren't responding as you would normally respond to something, especially at that point of your life. You were really mad or angry about a lot of things, and just life in general about that. And so seeing you not respond so normally, it was like just a little shift. And then honestly, that's when I was like, okay, this is the real deal. Honestly, it was like, well, it's working on him. This is incredible. So what do I need to do to help him, you know, build this practice up to help more people? Because it was one of those, I had to see it to believe it, I guess. Yeah. It just happened to be that I really did see it and really do believe it now. It's your transformation has been amazing as well to watch. It's been an amazing journey to watch both of us to go through this and to embody, you know, what it means to go through transformative change. Yeah. And so, you know, in our work now today, and you know, we work with patients who struggle with loss, depression, anxiety, a lot of anxiety,
you know, prior trauma. Many times they've tried everything. And they're not making any progress. You know, they talk about it. They do medication. They may even do meditation and mindfulness, and they still find themselves stuck. Yeah. And then they'll find themselves sitting in front of us, and we'll say, "Are you ready for transformative change? Yeah. Are you ready for a journey into yourself in a way that empowers?" And changes you forever in some ways. Yeah. And, you know, we find that, you know, it's the combination of making that container, that chrysalis for the butterfly, to what happens in that chrysalis? The caterpillar dissolves into nothingness, still maintains its essence, and it comes out as something brand new and beautiful. And often our patients go through a process like that, and in the beginning can be like, whoa, what am I anymore? Am I who? Well, you're not who you were anymore. You're becoming something entirely different and beautiful. That's going to allow you to literally soar above where you used to be. And it's a combination of things that gets people there. It's medication. Maybe it's a psychedelic experience. Maybe it's mindfulness, meditation. It's spiritual work. It's being creative. It's getting up and moving your body. It's being alive.
Yeah.
And
I think that's been the best part of this for me, is one of the aspects of, I've been a life coach, and now it's finally, I'm really doing the work as a life coach, because I'm able to work with them in all those aspects. It's a combination of obviously art and nursing and all sorts of meditation training and everything else, but it's really incredible to finally use, meditation training that you get to be able to have people, get them out of a panic attack, or, teaching them different ways to breathe, for different life situations. It's different than just learning it and using it when you're done at the yoga studio. This is a different kind of meditation that I teach. I've always worked in crisis centers and cancer centers, and used it for pain relief and, just really mindset and getting out of the place, whatever they're at. So it's been incredible to use all of these tools now with all of our patients. And, once they start feeling better in their mind, I'm all about the balance, right? So mind and body and creative spirit. And I feel like if we're doing a little bit of one of those things every day, just a little bit. And I always think, even if you can't create something, let's just even have a thought, right? Even just a thought starts triggering that right side of the brain. And I also think that's an incredible paradigm also that we work. We often say to our patients that he's the surgeon and then I'm the rehab. So there is that aspect of it. It works really well. But I really do. I love being able to get people to, once they start feeling better in their minds, I also call it Jedi training, but once people start trying to really work on their mindset and really look at where their thoughts are during the day, our intakes, I love to talk about this on our intakes, because a lot of people don't even realize that you're not your thoughts all day long. You don't have to, you don't have to serve them tea. Right. Yeah. So once we learn about mindfulness and really what the thoughts are, and they're really just thoughts, and we don't have to attach anything to those, including emotions or behaviors. We see those as what they are. And that's what practice really ends up doing, teaching them a way to be in contact with that part of their self, because it really makes a huge difference, especially in our anxiety patients, and really pretty much for everybody. I know I work on it daily myself. But yeah, it's been incredible, an incredible journey to use all life skills. Life coaching.
What do you think's been most surprising for you that you've seen happen with her?
Oh, with our practice, the tattoos. And I think that is the most interesting thing that I was not expecting. People are having such profound experiences in their ketamine experience, right? Pretty, and it's so unique to each human that it's their experience, it's their memories, it's their subconscious mind that they're going within. And, when they come out and they've seen something completely from a different perspective, or they've, and it's not even so much the psychedelic stuff that they're seeing. It's definitely more on the emotion side, right? And so when they come up from that, it's just incredible. But apparently it's very profound, because when they get with me, we ended up creating it differently, right? And maybe it might be me, but I end up getting them to create it in any which way. I meet every person wherever they're at creatively, writers, musicians, wherever they might be, painters. And we also create in VR also, so virtual reality, virtual spaces, and 3D painting. And anyways, but when they do that, for some reason, these images are really installed in their mindset, to the point where it's so life-changing, they want to literally tag their body on it, and they will do tattoos. So I think tattoos, I have to say, was not on the agenda of opening a ketamine center. I did not think everybody was going to want a tattoo.
That was pretty surprising.
But that was, I think that is my, out of all the things that, and the other thing for me is that, for me, for full circle for healing, is that we are back in my building that we used for my art gallery. So there's a huge piece of, and I almost tear up about it, but there's a huge piece of that is full circle healing for me, to be back there.
That's nice confirmation that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And even where I'm creating with our patients, right? My office space is my creative room, and that's the same room that I would use for my one-on-ones when I had the building open. And so I would still do my one-on-one patients, and I would use that same space. And so it's a wonderful space, and I can still feel all the energy in it. And
it is a beautiful space that we've created.
So those two things, I guess.
Thank you.
Not being back in there, and definitely the tattoos.
I think for me, I think it's that surprising confirmation came in that, in my 20 years as an ER doctor, obviously I saved a lot of lives, hundreds, maybe thousands of lives, but leading a team of saving people's lives. And rarely did anyone ever say thank you. More often than not, they might have complained. Sometimes you got a little smile, but that most of the time they didn't really say thank you in the ER, and that's okay. That's not what we were looking for.
Right.
And clearly, in the story of my journey of how I got here, there's been other people who I wanted to save, and there was one day around Christmas last year that we got a letter from a patient. And in all those lives I saved in the ER, no one ever sent me a letter. But this patient sent me a letter, and it simply said, thanks to you, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. Thank you for saving my life. And that's why we do it.
Exactly.
That's why we do it. And, that never happened in the ER.
No.
And it happens now. And we see lives changed.
And we save lives. That
some people get, on a deeper level, an emotional level, on a spiritual level. Yeah. This is life-saving for people.
It really is.
So it's the best work I've ever done, I think, that we've ever done. It sustains me and keeps my passion alive, and I look forward to continuing this journey and discussing the power of this very transformative healing paradigm in all of its aspects and all of the ways that it can be used to promote emotional well-being, spiritual well-being, physical well-being, and ultimately transformation to a higher state of being. In the future, we're going to bring on some of our former patients and clients to discuss their experiences and what they learned and their growth. We'll probably share other techniques and creativity on immersive therapies, on physical fitness, on many aspects of life and health and healing. So thank you for being with us today on this inaugural episode of Healing with Ketamine. We look forward to seeing you again next time and sharing this journey with you.